Hey everybody, it's Ginger. We're going to do Judges chapter 14 today. I wanted to go over a little bit of 13 again. Remember, Samson was conceived. The angel of the Lord, God in angelic form, showed up and told his mother that she was going to conceive him. He was one of those children whose parents didn't think they could have children, right? They had never had children. So the reason Samson was conceived was to be a judge of Israel, a deliverer. And he was going to deliver his people from the Philistines. That was the whole reason for God creating him inside of his mother. So anyway, and he was taking a Nazirite vow from conception to death. His mother, his parents did that on his behalf. So he would be a Nazirite from conception to death. So anyway, remember when Samson grew up, he wanted to marry this Palestinian woman, which really the Palestinians, it said in this chapter that the Palestinians had harassed Israel for 40 years. This was not he should have married another Israelite. The Palestinians were the enemy. So anyway, and then he marries her. Now, I might have misled you because I kept thinking, Samson's Jewish and they must have had a Jewish wedding ceremony. I don't think that's true. Everybody I've heard teach on this talks about this 7-day wedding feast or festival party. And, they're like, it's like they're married, but they don't consummate the marriage until the end of the 7 days. Well, at the end of the 7 days, remember, Samson's wife, he had given the 30 companions his dad went and got for him, he had given them a riddle. And the riddle was, out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something sweet. And if he could solve it, one of them could solve it, he would give them 30 sets of clothing. And if they couldn't, they would have to give him 30 sets of clothing, the 30 men would. So anyway, Samson's wife, do you want out, Kenny? Or do you want beside? He's thinking about it. Anyway, Samson's, hold on, Kenny wants out. Come on, baby. You want out, husband? Come on, Kenny. Come on. Then don't get mommy up. If you don't want out, don't get mom up. He's having a hard time making up his mind if he wants out or not. He hears something out there, like other dogs barking, so he's trying to assess the situation. Anyway, so Samson's wife, not his friend, these Palestinian people are the enemy. Anyway, remember, he just liked the way she looked, and so he convinced his parents to let him have her, to arrange the marriage. So anyway, she, of course, the 30 men kept after her, like, find out the meaning of this riddle. And so she manipulated him and, whined and moaned and groaned that he wouldn't tell her. And so he finally told her the meaning of the riddle. So she was basically on their side, not on her husband's side. So anyway, Samson, out of his anger, went and killed 30 other Palestinian men and took their clothing and gave it to these guys because he had promised, or gave it to the guy that did it, that solved the riddle. So he kept his promise in that way. It's kind of disturbing, but anyway. But the Palestinians were the enemy. So anyway, then he was so mad at his wife for doing that to him, for telling the men the riddle, that he was really mad at her, and he left. Instead of staying there, consummating the marriage, having the honeymoon, he left. And that's kind of a lead up to chapter 15. So Samson, I'll just prerequisite by saying that Samson stayed away for a while, being angry at his wife, and then he comes back. It's said in chapter 14 that his dad, or the wife's dad, when he realized Samson's mad, he left. He thought that Samson no longer wanted to be married to his daughter. So he gave his daughter instead of letting Samson complete the wedding week, he gave his daughter to a different man who is a friend of Samson's. But it's clear to me at the beginning of chapter 15 that Samson doesn't know that. I apologize. Anyway, so he gives his daughter to one of Samson's friends, but Samson doesn't realize this. So he calms down his anger, and then he goes back and he wants to be with his wife, and it's not going to work out that way. So let me read chapter 15 to you. But after a while, in the time of wheat harvest, Samson visited his wife with a young goat and said, "I will go in to my wife in her room." But her father did not let him enter. Her father said, "I really thought that you hated her intensely, so I gave her to your companion. Is not her younger sister more beautiful than she? Please let her be yours instead." Samson then said to them, "This time I shall be blameless in regard to the Philistines when I do them harm." So he goes back. He wants to consummate the marriage. He wants to, everything's fine now. He brought her a goat, which was a gift. And he wants to, keep his wife. But the dad has already given her to someone else and is trying to convince Samson, why don't you marry your sister? Or you can have her. But Samson is planning to do the Philistines harm. He's very upset about this. Verse 4, Samson went and caught 300 foxes and took torches and turned the foxes tail to tail and put one torch in the middle between two tails. When he had set fire to the torches, he released the foxes into the standing grain of the Philistines, thus burning up both the shocks and the standing grain, along with the vineyards and groves. And the Philistines said, "Who did this?" And they said, "Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he took his wife and gave her to his companion." So the Philistines came up and burned her and her father with fire. So Samson, I don't know how, people ask on the internet, they're like, how did he catch 300 foxes? I have no idea. Maybe there was a whole system. Maybe he'd had some that he caught before. I don't know. And I don't know how long this took. It might have taken a while. But he somehow tied their tails together and put attached torches, and burnt up tons of the Philistines' crops. And the people, the other Philistines, it shows you the character of the Philistines. I mean, they were so upset about it. And when they found out that Samson did it, they killed his wife, or the woman who was to be his wife. They never consummated the marriage. Killed her and the father by fire. They burned him to death. Kenny, if I get up, are you going to go out? He's standing by the door. Are you going to go out if Mom gets up? All right, then. You got to go out because Mommy's getting up. Come on. He's defending the homeland out there. He's barking at some serious threat out there. Okay, so some of the Palestinians burnt his wife and her father to death. The woman who had been given to his companion. Sorry, there's somebody outside. I'm like, are they coming to my house? Or are they going somewhere else? I don't know. They're stopped in the road. That's who the dog is barking at. I don't know. They're not getting out. I don't know. I'm just going to keep going and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so anyway, let me keep reading. So, of course, even though they're broken up, I'm sure Samson's going to be upset about this as well. So in verse 8, he takes revenge. He struck them ruthlessly with a great slaughter, and he went down and lived... Oh, wait a minute. Let me back up. So the Philistines came up and burned her and her father with fire. Verse 7. Samson said to them, "Since you act like this, I will surely take revenge on you, but after that I will quit." He struck them ruthlessly with a great slaughter, and he went down and lived in the cleft of the rock of Edom. You know what? I was going to look that up. So he kills many of them. Let me see. I'm gonna Google this rock. Edom. You know, I'm assuming it's a really big rocks with a cleft that he could, you know, sleep in there and everything. Now, this is from Bible Hub. It says the rock Edom is a significant location mentioned in the Old Testament, specifically in the book of Judges. It is associated with the narrative of Samson, one of the judges of Israel, known for his extraordinary strength and complex relationship with the Philistines. Okay, does it have a photo or is it still there? This is BibleAtlas.org. I'm sure I could find it in my, you know, a better one of it in my... I don't know. I'm not seeing a good picture. I should have done some research to see if there's anything like that still there. Anyway, maybe I could do that if I can remember later. Okay, so he goes to this place, Edom. I'm going to look at my map. I don't know. I'm surprised it doesn't show it here because I have a whole map dedicated to Samson here. Oh, here it is. So, if this is the Dead Sea, you know, which is down lower in Israel, because on this map, the Dead Sea is down here. So, if this is the Dead Sea, Edom is right there. So, down here, where would it be? Let's see if I show you on the other map. It's below Bethlehem. So, it's down here. On this map, it's down here. So there's rocks there, and there's a big cleft that he's staying in. And okay, then the Philistines went up and camped in Judah, because this is obviously the territory of Judah, I'm assuming. Yeah, this is the territory of Judah. The men of Judah said, "Why have you come up against us?" And they said, "We have come up to bind Samson in order to do him as he did to us." You know, they destroyed all the crops. And boy, that was a big loss, I bet. So they're wanting to get even when people from the tribe of Judah confront them, they say, "We're here to get Samson." Then 3,000 men of Judah went down to the cleft of the rock of Edom and said to Samson, "Do you not know that the Philistines are rulers over us?" Remember, the Philistines were ruling over them, which is not what God wanted. That's why Samson was created by God, to deliver them from the Philistines ruling over them. He's not doing a very good job because he's always messing around with the Philistines. And yeah, not only did he marry this crazy Philistine girl, but you'll find that that's the kind of woman he likes, Philistine women, and he has a weakness for women. Okay. "Do you not know that the Philistines are rulers over us? What then is it this that you have done to us?" And he said to them, "As they did to me, so I have done to them." They said to him, now this is 3,000 men confronting Judah, a whole bunch of them. They said to him, "We have come down to bind you so that we may give you into the hands of the Philistines." And Samson said to them, "Swear to me that you will not kill me." Regardless of his freakish strength, you know, this is his own tribe. I don't know. Did I ever tell you whose tribe Samson was? Or do I even know? I might have to look into that. I don't know if he's from the tribe of Judah. Anyway, I'll look into that. But he does know that they could kill him. You know, just because he's strong doesn't mean he can't die. He's still a man. And he also, his victories, Samson's victories, yes, he has freakish strength, but it wasn't just that. It was also, it was also God giving him the power. The Spirit, a Holy Spirit would come upon him, and then he'd have these crazy victories. Okay, so a lot of what happened, it might have even been supernatural, or God was working in the natural to cause Samson to have these incredible victories, like strength. They said to him, we have come down to bind you so that we, okay, verse 13. So they said to him, no, but we will bind you fast and give you into their hands. Yet surely we will not kill you. They didn't plan to kill him, but they wanted to get rid of these Philistines. Remember, the Israelites had been troubled by the Philistines for 4 years. Then they bound him with 2 new ropes and brought him up from the rock. Now that ought to hold him, right? A bunch of men binding him with 2 new ropes. When he came to Lehi, the Philistines shouted, and as they met him, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon him mightily, so that the ropes were on his arms were as flax that is burned with fire, and his bonds dropped from his hands. So again, the Holy Spirit comes upon him. He has this ridiculous strength, and he's able to break those ropes and get free. It's just fascinating because even though he's been causing problems, the Spirit of the Lord still came upon him. You know, he's broken his vow several times, and he married this crazy Philistine woman, which didn't end up lasting even to the end of the wedding party or celebration 7 days later, so that she didn't remain his wife. But anyway, okay, verse 16. Then Samson said, with the jawbone of a donkey, heaps upon heaps, with the jawbone of a donkey, I have killed 1,000 men. Now, I don't know. I don't know how long it took him to kill this 1,000 men, but obviously that was his weapon of choice when he was killing people, was a jawbone. So he's obviously killed a lot of people in his career. Okay. When he had finished speaking, he threw the jawbone from his hand, and he named that place Ramath Lehi. So he has the jawbone with him. Oh, wait, let me back up. He found, this is verse 15, he found a fresh jawbone of a donkey. So he reached out and took it and killed 1,000 men with it. Now it sounds like he killed this 1,000 men like right then, like one after another. Now, that could have been supernatural. He could have had help. Maybe some of the Judites joined him. I don't know. I'm not sure. It doesn't say he did have help, but it doesn't say he didn't. Then Samson said, with the jawbone of a donkey, heaps upon heaps. With the jawbone of a donkey, I've killed 1,000 men. I also wondered, is that a figurative number? You know, just like in every other type of language and writing, some things are figurative and some things are literal. Does he just mean I killed a lot of men? Or was it literally 1,000? I mean, did they count them as they went? Or is, I don't know. That could have been supernatural that he did that. I wish that we knew more about it, but that's all we know about it. Okay. Ramath Lehi, he named the place Ramath Lehi, which means the high place of the jawbone. Then he became very thirsty, and he called to the Lord and said, you have given this great deliverance by the hand of your servant, and now shall I die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised? So remember, the Jews were circumcised, and it showed that they belonged to God. The Palestinians would not have been circumcised. So also, it sounds like it was supernatural because nobody else would have the strength to kill 1,000 men, like in one day or whatever, however long it took. Maybe it took longer than that. I don't know. But, yeah, nobody would have that kind of strength. This was supernatural victory given by God. But God split the hollow place that is in Lehi so that the water came out of it. When he drank, his strength returned, and he revived. Therefore, he named it En-Hakor, which is in Lehi to this day. So this place, I don't know if it's in a rock, but the hollow place that is in Lehi and the water came out of it. the spring of him who called. And Hakor means the spring of him who called. Okay. So he judged Israel 20 years in the days of the Philistines. We're still going to talk more about Samson, but he was their judge for 20 years. He's killed a lot of the Philistines, and certainly killed a lot right here in the tribal line of Judah. So he is defeating them, but he's also playing games with them. Like, he married a Philistine woman. He's a very flawed person, but God is still using him. And we'll get into that more later. Have a good week.